big Pac-12 guy. Key wants to step in there for a second, but there's a lot of people that were wondering exactly what he would bring to the table.
I shook my head because you said out of nowhere, and I'm like, it's really not out of nowhere. If you watched him, much like you said, Pac-12 guy, and if you really watched him, you knew exactly his ability and what he was. Just because a guy is ranked as the number one quarterback 1 year and then he falls a couple years because people are going to surpass him that we don't even know who it is. All of a sudden, it's like, well, where did Joe Burrow come from? Or where did this guy come from? It doesn't mean that guy doesn't become a great fit for the team that drafted him. Circumstances is all about that. And I think when you look at a 6'6", 230-pound rocket of an arm and a guy who has some mobility when need be, you sit there and if you really are scouting and paying attention and really know what you're looking at, you knew that he was going to be fine when the chance came, and he took his opportunity, and they gave him the opportunity by, I don't mean to laugh, by puncturing the lung of his quarterback in Tyrod Taylor, which catapulted him to the starting job 20 minutes before kickoff.
That was a medical mishap indeed. People were shocked by it. People are also now shocked at these particular comments. I want you to listen to Marcus Spears, ESPN NFL analyst. He was on the Max Kellerman show yesterday, and he is advancing the theory of a couple of our colleagues that Justin Herbert has a little Mahomes in him.
You know, it's funny, Max, because I heard RC and Dan Orlovsky said this is the closest we'll get to Patrick Mahomes. And I was like, all right, fellas, come on. Come on now. Because I've been watching Herbert, and I've been super impressed by what he's been able to do. But, Max, they not wrong, bro.
No, he's a lot like Mahomes.
He's a lot like him. He's a lot like Patrick Mahomes, bro. From the standpoint of being able to improvise, right? The great ones have to be able to improvise on a level that consistently shows up. And the fact that this kid is doing it and had no reason to believe that he was playing this year.
Jay, what do you think about that? They all seem to be in lockstep about this.
I don't know what the big deal about them saying that he has a little bit of Patrick Mahomes in him. I mean, you can see slight skill aspects that players have that can remind you of other aspects that other players have. And I think that's what they're alluding to here. Hey, his elusiveness, his ability when he gets out of the pocket to make plays happen, his arm strength, things of that sort. I don't think that's that absurd.
I'm fine with it as long as they're not comparing the overall body of work, the skill sets, what Patrick Mahomes has been able to do, how he's been able to take over for Alex Smith in a short period of time, and then get an MVP, win a Super Bowl, have them on the verge of going to a Super Bowl if it wasn't for a toe on the end of the line, those sort of things. As long as they're not comparing it to that, then I'm okay. I have no issues with them saying, much like you say, Jay, a throw here, a throw there, because you can look at certain players and say, oh, he reminds us of Jason Williams. Look how he punches through the hole and then dishes. Or he reminds us of Zubin. Look how he sets things up. I mean, that's okay. As long as you're not really like trying to say that he getting ready to take the Chargers and put him on his back and he's on the verge of $500 million contract. As long as you don't say that, then I ain't got no problem with it. I have no problem with it at all.
Yes, Jay was dishing dimes at the highest level of basketball. I'm just dishing to soundbite. It's not really, so I appreciate
You're dishing dimes at a pretty high level right here, Zubin.
But you are doing what a lot of people wish they could do.
We're talking sports
at a high level.
Right, we're talking sports for a living.
At a high level, though. Mm-hmm. Not at a level. A lot of people wish they were sitting in this seat doing exactly what you do and do it well. So all I'm saying, as long as they're not trying to compare to people, it doesn't, because if you're trying to compare Justin Herbert to Patrick Mahomes, it's not like that. They both are young. They both are great quarterbacks. But Patrick Mahomes is so far ahead of Justin Herbert, it's not even funny. He's way ahead of him, in fact. I think Justin Herbert over time is going to be one of those top 6-7 quarterbacks that we continue to talk about year in and year out.
I think one of those lines, it feels like it's almost like clickbait to a degree, because when you hear it, the shock value of it, you're like, there's no way you can actually compare. But when you think about the nuances and slight aspects of their game, like, okay, that makes sense if you're looking at contextually. But I agree with Key, like the whole body of work, if you're saying that, that's dead wrong.
Well, I mean, Trevor Lawrence will be compared to him soon too, I'm sure.
Yes, and let me give you a quick anecdotal example. Patrick Mahomes had difficulty getting college scholarships. He overcame a lot of adversity before Texas Tech came calling. When Justin Herbert walked onto Oregon's campus, he grew up a mile away from Autzen Stadium in Eugene. He was the sixth-string quarterback. So numbers are there.
Fake sixth-string, though. That wasn't the real sixth.
Similarities.
Took him a while to play. It's the battle and the adversity and the grit they had to come through to get to where they're at. That's a great comparison point as well. On the way, Herbert faces the guy picked right ahead of him in the draft this Sunday. What do the fellas think about Tua and Justin?
How concerned and worried are the Ravens with this, I guess, taking place?
I don't think they're concerned. I think it's one of those quotes where when you hear it, it does not sound good. I think it sounds worse than it is. It almost reminds me of like when Sam Darnold was like, I was seeing ghosts out there. It's not something like you get what he's saying, but it's not something that you want to hear from your quarterback, especially if you're a Ravens fan, because that gives you the sense of like, well, why do people know what's going on? Like, how are they able to guess what you're doing? But I actually texted a few personnel people like, what if your QB had said this? Would you have been upset? And they all were like, not really, because with no crowds, a lot of stadiums are empty or a few fans. One guy made the point that everybody's pulling, they're TV scouting. Everybody's pulling audio. Like you can hear what teams are doing on offense and what plays are calling. Like they didn't think it was a big deal. I don't think the Ravens think it's a big deal because at the end of the day, teams can guess a lot of times what you're about to do, but can they stop you?
That is 100% correct.
You know what I'm saying? Like that. So that if teams were saying after beating the Ravens week after week and like, oh, we know exactly what they're doing, then I'd be like, let's sound the alarm, please. But until teams consistently show that they could stop Lamar and stop this offense, I don't think it's that big a deal.
Been in that situation myself. 3-by-1 Zubin. Everybody, I'm over on the left side. Everybody, first thing they scream is, he's running the slant. I'm like, yeah, it's 3rd and 6. Everybody knows, and I'm still getting the first down.
Stop it.
Stop it.
Exactly. Kimberly, how effective can the NFL's resolution on minority coaches and executives actually be?
Okay, I'm so glad you asked me this because this bothered me only because I think it misses the mark again on what the real issue is. And I think it all goes back to ownership. I think owners have to take a step back, have to do self-inventory as far as check their own biases, check their circles, and how wide they extend their net when it comes to candidates. I don't think nobody wants to get a job. No black person wants to get a job because they're black, right? And when you talk about the NFL pushing teams to develop guys, what does that development look like? Are you bringing coaches and personnel guys into are you giving them team information? Are you giving them access to sit in the room as you're discussing game plans or draft plans? Or are you just going to give them a new title and drop them off at the NFL Career Symposium and say, hey, learn from other guys? It really has to be tangible development and growth, and the pipeline is there. A lot of guys have been stuck in it, and a lot of guys haven't been developed. So if you have to entice somebody, dangle that carrot with a draft pick just to get them to pay attention to the guys that are in their organization, smart, talented guys who have not moved up, to me, that doesn't sit right with me. But I applaud the league for trying to do something, but ultimately it comes down to the owners.
Kim, can I ask you real quick, what's the A? Kimberly A. Martin, what's the A for?
Listen, you and I are not on that level.
Okay, all right.
Tell him, Kim. Tell him, Kim.
Listen. Key, love you, but let's wait a minute.
All right, okay.
Yeah, I like that. Put Key in check, Kimberly. I like it.
No doubt.
Somebody has to.
You're right. You might be the first person to do it. Last thing I wanted to mention.
Respect, man. Respect. I got to respect what she's saying. What you want me? I ain't going to. What I'm going to do? Fight her? She said no.
There's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do.
Take that L.
Yeah, move on. Next play.
We can have a truce and ask Stephen A. Smith what the A.